Wellness Rhythm Show. Find your rhythm. Live your wellness.
Y'all, let me tell you something embarrassing. Last winter, I was exhausted, catching every single bug my kids brought home. And I genuinely thought I was just a tired mom. My doctor ran some blood work, and it turns out my vitamin D level was so low it was basically a cry for help.
Right, and that is not unusual at all. The Vitamin D Council estimates that roughly 1 billion people worldwide have insufficient vitamin D levels. 1 billion. That is not a niche problem.
1 billion. And here's the thing, though. I thought I was doing fine. I live in Texas, I am outside, I eat reasonably well. But my levels were sitting at 18 nanograms per milliliter, and the conventional cutoff for deficiency is 20. I was basically on the floor.
And that conventional cutoff is actually one of the most contested numbers in nutritional science right now. So, today we're going to get into why so many people are underdosed, what optimal levels actually look like, and why this matters enormously for immune function and aging resilience.
Let's start with the basics, because I had to Google what vitamin D actually is after my diagnosis, which felt humbling. It is not just a vitamin, right?
Correct, and this surprises most people. Vitamin D is technically a hormone precursor. When your skin is exposed to UVB radiation from sunlight, it triggers a synthesis process that eventually converts into calcitriol, the active hormonal form. Dr. Michael Holick at Boston University has spent decades on this, and he refers to it as the sunshine hormone.
So it behaves more like a hormone in the body than a traditional vitamin you just absorb from food.
Exactly. And that distinction matters because vitamin D receptors exist in nearly every tissue in the body, including your immune cells, your brain, your heart muscle. It is not just a bone thing.
Okay, so let's dig deeper into the immune piece, because that is what got my attention. I was not just tired, I was catching everything.
Right. Here's what the research says. Vitamin D plays a critical role in both innate and adaptive immunity. A landmark 2017 meta-analysis published in the BMJ, led by Dr. Adrian Martineau at Queen Mary University of London, analyzed 25 randomized controlled trials and found that daily or weekly vitamin D supplementation reduced the risk of acute respiratory infections by about 12% overall, and by up to 50% in people who were severely deficient.
50%. That is not a minor footnote.
No, it is not. And the mechanism is genuinely fascinating. Vitamin D stimulates the production of antimicrobial peptides, specifically cathelicidin and defensins, which essentially act as your body's first line of attack against pathogens.
So when your levels are low, you are basically sending your immune system into battle without armor.
That is a reasonably accurate metaphor, yes.
Now here's where I want to push back a little, because my doctor told me that anything above 20 is technically sufficient. But I keep seeing functional medicine practitioners talking about levels of 50 to 80 nanograms per milliliter as optimal. There is a real gap there.
And this is where it gets genuinely contested. The Institute of Medicine set their sufficiency threshold at 20 nanograms per milliliter, based primarily on bone health outcomes. But researchers like Dr. Rhonda Patrick and Dr. Holick argue that for immune function, cardiovascular health, and cancer prevention, the evidence points toward a higher range, somewhere between 40 and 60 nanograms per milliliter.
So the official guidance was built on bone data, not full-body health data.
Largely, yes. The Endocrine Society's clinical guidelines actually suggest that 30 to 15 nanograms per milliliter is a more appropriate target for overall health. So there is institutional movement, but it is slow.
And while we are talking about our listeners here, whether you are in your 30s wrangling toddlers or in your 60s managing your energy levels, this gap matters differently at different life stages.
Absolutely. For the sandwich generation and pre-retirees, aging itself reduces vitamin D synthesis. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology found that adults over 70 produce roughly 75% less vitamin D from sun exposure than young adults, due to thinner skin and reduced enzymatic conversion.
75% less from the same amount of sun. Y'all, that is not a small decline.
And this connects directly to aging resilience. There is growing research linking low vitamin D to increased inflammatory markers, including interleukin-6 and TNF-alpha, which are associated with what scientists call inflammaging, the chronic low-grade inflammation that accelerates biological aging.
Okay, I had not heard that term before. Inflammaging. So vitamin D is not just about catching fewer colds, it is about how gracefully you age at a cellular level.
That is the emerging picture, yes. A 2020 study in the journal Nutrients reviewed evidence suggesting adequate vitamin D helps regulate the NLRP3 inflammasome, which is essentially a molecular trigger for inflammatory cascades.
So let's get into the why behind the deficiency, because I think people assume, like I did, that if you are getting some sun, you are probably fine.
Right, this is where the modern reality is quite sobering. Most people in office jobs are simply not getting meaningful UVB exposure. Glass blocks UVB entirely, so commuting does not count. Sunscreen with SPF 30 reduces vitamin D synthesis by about 95%. And if you live above roughly 35 degrees latitude, like most of the UK, Canada, or the northern United States, you get essentially zero meaningful UVB from November through March.
I am in Austin, and I was still deficient. So geography alone is not the answer.
Skin pigmentation is also a significant factor. Melanin absorbs UVB, so people with darker skin tones need considerably more sun exposure to synthesize equivalent amounts of vitamin D. Research by Dr. Keith Norris at UCLA has highlighted this as a genuine health equity issue, with higher rates of deficiency documented in Black and Hispanic populations in the US.
That is so important to name. And honestly, if you are listening and you have never had your vitamin D tested, this is your nudge. Ask your doctor for a 25-hydroxyvitamin D blood test. That is the right test to ask for.
Agreed, and that is the 25-OHD test, which measures circulating storage levels. It is straightforward and inexpensive.
Hey, and if this conversation is landing for you, please hit like and subscribe. It genuinely helps us reach more people who need exactly this kind of grounded, practical information.
Now let's talk supplementation, because this is where people often get lost in the noise.
Yes, because I went from knowing nothing to suddenly standing in a supplement aisle completely overwhelmed.
Understandably. The two main forms are D2, which is ergocalciferol, and D3, which is cholecalciferol. The evidence strongly favors D3 as more bioavailable and more effective at raising serum levels. A 2012 meta-analysis in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition confirmed D3 was approximately 87% more effective at raising blood levels.
And what about dosing? Because there is a huge range out there. I see everything from 400 IU to 10,000 IU.
Right, this requires nuance. The tolerable upper intake level set by the Institute of Medicine is 4,000 IU per day for adults, though many researchers consider doses up to 10,000 IU safe for deficient individuals under medical supervision. For most healthy adults trying to maintain adequate levels, 1,000 to 2,000 IU daily is a reasonable starting point. But the only way to know what you need is to test.
Test, do not guess. That is the real takeaway there.
And pairing D3 with vitamin K2 is worth mentioning. K2, specifically the MK7 form, helps direct calcium to bones rather than arteries. Several researchers, including Dr. Leon Schergers at Maastricht University, have highlighted this synergy as important for cardiovascular safety during supplementation.
Here's the thing, though. I want to acknowledge the skeptics, because not everyone is convinced the benefits are as dramatic as the hype suggests.
That is fair and important. The VITAL trial, a large randomized controlled trial from Harvard involving over 25,000 participants, showed that vitamin D3 supplementation at 2,000 IU daily did not significantly reduce overall cancer incidence or major cardiovascular events in the general population. So, it is not a magic bullet.
But it did show reduced cancer mortality and benefits for people with deficiency, right?
Correct. A 2022 follow-up analysis showed a 17% reduction in cancer mortality and notable benefits for people with low baseline levels. So the nuance is, if you are already adequate, heroic doses may not add much. If you are deficient, getting sufficient has meaningful protective effects.
Which brings it back to testing. Know your baseline, work toward adequacy, and do not assume sun exposure alone is covering you. Okay, if there is one thing I want every listener to take away today, it is this. Go get your 25 OHD level tested, not next month, soon. Because you genuinely cannot know where you stand without that number. And the difference between deficient and optimal is not just feeling a bit better, it may be how well your immune system ages.
Right. Test first, supplement thoughtfully with D3 and ideally K2, target the 40 to 60 nanograms per milliliter range if your clinician agrees, and revisit your levels after a few months. It is genuinely one of the more actionable, low-effort interventions in evidence-based wellness.
Y'all, this one personally changed how I felt going into last winter, and I am not exaggerating. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. If you found this useful, please share it with someone who always seems to be fighting something off, because they might just need a blood test.
And do remember, the sunshine is free. The test is cheap. The upside is potentially rather significant.
The show is part of the VoxCrea.AI system. If you want a show like this for your organization without building it yourself,
Go to VoxCrea.AI and request a sample episode.